Welcome back, folks, to the Mel Wright Show. It's episode 241. I've got my co-host, Robert, with me. And also we've got a really great... Yes, Robert. And we really also got a great guest. As you know, listeners and viewers, my ability to butcher our guests' names is unlimited. And I'm going to allow my guest to actually introduce herself and also tell a little bit about herself before we go into the main part of the discussion. To our guest.
Thank you, Jonathan. Thank you, Robert. My name is Amira Alvarez. I am the founder and CEO of The Unstoppable Woman. We are a global coaching company. We help high achievers in all fields really make quantum leaps in their lives, whether that's an income breakthrough or going after other impact goals that they have, personal or professional goals. What does it take to actually go from a really good life, really good results, to extraordinary results, an extraordinary life, and achieving that in a faster period of time than you ever thought possible? So I know that sounds like a bunch of hoopla, but it's quite extraordinary when you understand what it takes to make what seems like the impossible possible, and then you do it. It's phenomenal, and that's what I love to do.
And Robert, would you like to quickly introduce yourself to the new listeners and viewers?
Certainly. I'm a 13-year veteran of the real estate industry. I have started a real estate technology company called Inbound Real Estate Marketing, and you can learn more about me at inboundrem.com. I also haven't had nearly enough coffee, so I massacred my own intro.
Yeah, there we go.
Over to you, John.
Yes, and I'm the CEO of Mel Wright. I've been involved in the real estate industry for about 4 years now. I'm a technologist, WordPress, coding, all the techie stuff. And we got a platform that gets you more quality leads at better value than the competition. So if that's interesting, go over to mel-wright.com and learn more and get a free demo. So, Asmir, that's a big statement, but I thought we would start the conversation. Obviously, we're going through very strange and difficult times through the virus and the unfortunate deaths that we're witnessing here and abroad. So the real estate industry has basically just grind to a halt to some extent, and everybody's just waiting it out to see how things pan out and how deeply this crisis, how long it will continue. But how can you, have you got any tips and insights about how you deal with something that really got no control, but only the way that you think about it? And how do you stop it from totally demotivating yourself from the work that you should be doing now that will mean that when things do pick up, you will be one of the first to be hitting the road fully functioning than the rest?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a really great question, Jonathan. So I think fundamentally, this is one of the things that people really need to learn in life in general, in terms of achieving what they want to achieve. And now is a perfect opportunity to put it into play. It's such a extreme example or situation that people are facing with. So this is what I'm talking about. Most people let external circumstances determine how they think about what they're going to do or what's possible for them or what they can achieve or cannot achieve. They let people outside of them tell them this is going to work or this isn't going to work. So let's put it in terms of real estate. Someone has a metric that they're going for. They want to sell a certain number of properties. They want to make a certain amount of money, something like that. And nothing's selling. That is an outside circumstance, okay? That is something that is outside of them that then they start perpetuating. Oh, the market's not good. People aren't buying right now. Nobody likes these kinds of houses. My clients aren't willing to price their properties appropriately. And they start creating a story to explain that outside circumstance, okay? And then it becomes this self-perpetuating concept, because what we think about determines how we feel and what actions we will take in this world. So let's use the same example. No one's buying, and think, okay, well, if how I think is going to change, how I feel is going to change the actions that I take, what could I think about this situation or life or my capacity or the real estate market or how things go that would change my feeling state and the actions that I would take? So nobody's buying, it could be switched to, actually look over here, people are buying in this market and people are doing this over here, and actually like searching out examples of where that's working. Who in your office is selling right now? There is always someone who is always selling. What are they thinking? What are they doing? How do I model them? And you start putting yourself in the place of like, well, this can happen. And then from the perspective of it can happen, you start getting ideas and motivated to act. Now, COVID-19, the current situation right now, it's real. We don't want to be like an ostrich with our head in the sand and start pretending.
Yeah, that was the reason I wanted to start a discussion, because you have some people that are kind of Pollyannish, that you know, and they can be very annoyed.
Yeah.
And I'm the opposite. I'm English, so I'm dire. So I probably need more Americanization of my attitudes, really. So what is the middle ground between being one of these Pollyannists or being a dour English person that always looks on the black side?
So here's where I use some of the universal laws of success. And if you're unfamiliar with this, this will be a little bit of a bringing up to speed and education, and have an open mind to it, and just recognize that it's a tool for understanding. So the law of relativity says everything just is, okay? Everything just is. Nothing is good or bad, big or small, right or wrong, until we make it so, until we give it a story. And we give it a story by comparing it, making it relative to someone else or something else. So this market is terrible compared to what? Okay. But it's better than what it could be, right? It's all relative. Okay. Now, right now, this market feels really terrible because it's in comparison to something else. I happen to live in Charlotte, North Carolina, and the market here has never been hotter, okay? Which is crazy. I don't understand it, but supposedly that this is a classic thing for North Carolina. That said, in your market, it's been worse and it's been better. What are you going to compare it to? And if you use perspective to address this, you will shift how you look at it, okay? So if you keep saying, this is terrible, this is terrible, this is terrible, there's nobody buying, there's nobody buying, there's nobody buying, I'm making no money, I'm making no money, I'm making no money, like you're going to go into a little bit of a downward spiral. But if you think, okay, well, this is a pause, this isn't as bad as it could be, I'm going to use this time to put my foundations in place, to build my marketing channel. This is a great thing. This is not a horrible thing. This is a great thing because everyone's on pause. This gives me the edge to build my marketing right now, or connect with past clients, or really have deeper conversations with people. That's a perspective change. Does that make sense? I think,
and also on the practical front, this really clearly shows that you should have at least 3 to 6 months money in reserve to allow you the oxygen to be able to plan and not be under such financial pressure that you basically can't motivate yourself.
Fear does one of two things for people. Fear either motivates them or paralyzes them. So for some people, when they get under a huge amount of stress, they go under the covers, curl up in the fetal position. And for other people, they are like, my back is up against the wall, and what the effity F am I going to do right now? And they come out fighting. And the same person can have both of those reactions. I don't mean to make it so black and white, but like right now, if you're someone who doesn't have the 3 to 6 months and you're really struggling, right? And it's really an issue. I'd love to give those people a tip. Can I give them a strategy?
Yeah.
We're all about tips.
Yeah, please.
So this is true whether you're in this, like, what do I do for the next 3 to 6 months? Or just in general, if you have debt that you're carrying and it's stressing you out and your brain keeps looping on, what am I going to do? What am I, I'm underwater. What am I going to do? The first thing you need to do is come up with a plan. I know that seems very pat, but most people just ignore that concept. So if you have debt, you want to figure out how much you're going to pay to that debt, make a decision in your own mind, clearly communicate that to your creditors, and then don't think about it again. Put it on autopilot, okay? You're paying that off, you're paying yourself, and you're paying that off, and you have a debt repayment plan, so then you don't have to worry about it. You've done your due diligence, okay? You put the plan in place, and now you shift your focus, and you focus entirely on sales and making money, revenue generation, because you don't have to keep pulling your energy to the fear, the doubt, the worry, the anxiousness. You've put a plan in place. So now with the 3 to 6 months that you have in front of you, or less, right? If you don't have that time horizon, which is what we're talking about, you want to look at what your bills are and how much time horizon you do have. And then you want to start calling people and getting things situated. Call your landlord, call your the people that you regularly pay money to, and say, can we put this on hold for 2 months? This, and if you go to every single credit card website, talk to your landlord, they're all having conversations like this, okay? Most people will understand this is not of your making. Yes, we'll put things on hold for 2 months. If you actually put that plan in place, stop worrying, and then focus on what you can do, which may be making sales right now, or it may be building relationships, or it might be putting new marketing things in place, then you're using your energy productively. Does that make sense?
Oh, totally. Absolutely. So I think, to recap, what you're saying is inactivity around marketing or approaching creditors is the real problem.
Well, yes, but the core problem is allowing fear to stop you. Okay, it's allowing the doubt. Doubt is the first. It's like the gateway drug. It hooks you. Okay, and then you go into worry, and then you get into fear, and then when fear moves into your body, you get into anxiety. Okay, and then you get paralyzed and you shut down. Sometimes paralysis looks like spinning out and trying to do tons of work, but not getting anywhere fast. And sometimes paralysis can look like actually, curling up in the fetal position. Okay. Yeah. But the core issue is not knowing how to think about the situation, and then not making good decisions. And as a result of that, the worry, doubt, and fear take over.
That's great. Have you got a question, Robert?
Well, yes and no. I mean, I have a what I think is more like a statement, which is,
go on.
It seems like your influences are like Napoleon Hill and neuro-linguistic programming. I'm seeing a lot of stuff that I would see if I was like diving down those particular rabbit holes. I'm kind of curious, which makes me ask the following question, which leads into an actual question, which is, so what was the motivation behind starting the Unstoppable Women? What was your aha moment that made you strike out on your own and do your own thing in this particular realm?
Absolutely. So there's a long story short, and then there's the critical switch flipping moment as well.
This is the criticals, because we're coming up for our break. So,
okay. So the critical flip switching moment was, I had already started a coaching business. I was doing fairly well. I was, a high achiever. I was doing well. I had a good, solid business. I was making $138 a year. I'm very transparent about the income side of things, which was a solid 6-figure income, no, not chump change, not complaining about it, but I was working my patootie off. Like I just was like 12, 14, 16-hour days. I couldn't get ahead. I was banging my head up against the wall. I was throwing spaghetti, like what's going to stick? Like what's going to work? What's going to work? And I was like a little hamster on the wheel. I had a great attitude, I had a good life, but I had this aha moment of like, I cannot 10 times my work hours to 10 times my income. Like it's impossible. Okay. I'm already working crazy hours. This is not scalable. This is not sustainable. This is not scalable. So there's got to be a better way. And I looked out there and I saw there are people making a lot more money. Okay. And seemingly doing it with a lot more ease than I'm doing it. And what are the big names doing? Okay. What do they do differently? And I went on a path, a journey to study that. I hired someone to help me get over my own blocks. And in that year, I went from 138 to 700K. So I 5 times my income. I didn't get 5 extra days a week more than anyone else, right? It wasn't about having more time. It wasn't about my circumstances changing. It wasn't about becoming, entering a different industry, any of that. And it blew, Robert, it blew my mind. Like, how does that happen in 1 year? Okay. And then I had to really back engineer it and figure out what are all the things that I did. And my influences are Napoleon Hill and the universal laws and all of that. And what I did differently than most people is I studied that in depth so that then I could teach it to other people and watch them have the same results. And I've continued to grow, 7-figure business, whatever, it keeps going. The money is great, love it, all that's great. But the impact, seeing how other people can use this material and get out of feeling trapped and step into their true potential and have that personal freedom, that, and the personal freedom, quite frankly, yes, there's financial freedom. That's great. I am not negating that. Okay. That is something that most everyone wants. Okay. If they tell me they're not interested in having financial freedom, they're probably not a good client of mine. Okay. But that's not the only reason people are going for it. They want to feel secure in this world. They want to love their life. They don't want to feel trapped all the time and feeling small. They want to understand how to get what they want, not have it just be a random universe that like, what happened? Right? So the real thing is understanding the causes that put the effects in place that you want. And when you understand that and you actually live it, so it's not just esoteric knowledge or, oh yeah, I know that, but you actually live it, your life changes dramatically. Okay? You're never afraid again. You never have that doubt, fear, and worry.
Oh, that's great. We're going to go for our break. We'll be back with this insightful discussion at the right moment, I think. We'll be back in a few moments, folks. We're coming back. It's Jonathan, the dour Englishman. I guess I was just coming back. I thought I put her off, actually.
John.
But, all right. And Robert, who seems to be in witness protection because we can hardly see him.
I know. I don't know what's going on with the light.
I don't know. It's like you wouldn't be in darkness. As we were discussing before we went live on the show, both me and Robert have these marketing companies, and they're both based on online marketing. And statistically, 70 to 75% of real estate agents are ladies. But both me and Robert, we would say about 30% of our clients are ladies. And we're going to see if you could put some rationality or perspective, your own perspective here. Do you think when it comes to selling and marketing yourself that women have a different style or a different perspective about how they do it and who they hire?
Absolutely. So the answer is yes and no, because there is no one type of woman. Okay, we can't pigeonhole women in the same way we can't pigeonhole men, right? There's a spectrum of styles and energies and ways of being and what's important to people. But generally speaking, I think women are much more relational based and want to create a relationship before they go forward with someone or with a system, okay? And they need to have a higher know, like, and trust factor. I think men tend to also need that to some extent. You know, like it's not black and white here, but they tend to just want the facts or the bottom line a little bit more. These are gross generalizations, though. Okay.
I understand.
Yeah. But for instance, my business is called the Unstoppable Woman. The majority of my clientele are women, and yet behind the scenes, I have a few men who like my message and they reach out to me, or they're the partners of the women I work with. There are a lot of women entrepreneurs, small business owners, real estate agents who are in partnership, and so I end up working with the men and the women, and they both need the mindset and the strategy stuff that I work on with them, in the same way that they also need the marketing side, right? The tactical marketing pieces. And it's just a question of, I think if I were to dive into your business, you know, I would have to know more about how you yourself market and the languaging that you're using and the phrasing and the outcomes that you're giving people, because it might be much more of a male-oriented language or a male-oriented outcome, and it could be just a few little tweaks that might help match it to a female audience. But again, it's a gross generalization because there are a lot of really quick deciding, bottom lining women out there. You know, it's not just male.
I'm going to ask you, hopefully that you're going to find this an interesting question. Now, in British history, there's been some great female leaders. You know, Queen Elizabeth I is probably seen in Britain as one of the greatest queens and kings of England. You know, you had like Queen Boadicea, a legendary figure. You know, Margaret Thatcher, you know, who I had the pleasure of meeting once. Politically, I was on the opposition to her, but I did admire her leadership skills. Now, how, you know, obviously the type of people you like working with is, I get the impression you like people that want success but want to become leaders. But it's really tricky for a woman, I feel, because I don't normally do this, but how can a woman be an effective leader without being seen as a bitch?
Oh, wow. Great question. Okay. You be yourself. And really, honestly, you be yourself. You don't have to show up more than yourself or less than yourself. So don't make yourself small. Okay. Don't reduce your impact in this world, but also don't try and be someone you're not, which might be behaving in a way that you think is required for a situation. You're seeing that, but it's not how you would really do things. It's not who you really are. I think true confidence, true leadership, true influence comes from owning yourself, self-ownership, okay? And not making yourself smaller or trying like that kind of bitchy thing. It can come from, not always, sometimes it's just other people, you're triggering other people, but it can come from thinking that you need to show up in a different way than is your natural nature. Okay. And
well, is there a difference between assertiveness and bitchiness? And is that, Is
So,
that,
you
is
know,
that, is,
I'm there because there
or
is,
is the question I've just given you very sexist? Because if a man was very assertive, he wouldn't be classified as a bitch, would he? It's
no,
only if you're a woman that if you're extremely assertive that you would even be given that title, would you?
yeah. So here's the thing. I don't take offense about it because it's the reality of the situation, right? You're talking about an experience that women have and an experience, a conversation that's out there. So, you know, let's not pretend that this doesn't exist and, you know, whitewash it or whatever. But also let's look at the reason I was pausing is, you know, there was something I learned years ago, like, don't change the symbols, change what the symbols mean. You call me a bitch, okay, I'll own that because I love myself, okay? Like, I am not going to be made small by what you tell me I am or think about me, okay? Like, you can put that label on me, but I'm going to make that label work for me. If you want to throw that label on me, you know, I don't actually care what you think. I care what I think about myself. I like myself. I love myself. And I'm confident in who I am in this world. So nothing you can say can touch me. Does this make sense?
Yeah, totally.
Okay. And so, but I do think that there is, you know, the equivalent is he's a dick or he's an asshole. Okay. And men get it too. And there are men that are dicks and assholes, and there are women who are bitches, right? Like, there's the whole gamut, okay? And sometimes when you're stepping into your strength, I see this a lot of times with my clients. They're stepping into their strength and they're trying things out and they behave in a way that they're testing out and it doesn't come off well and they get some feedback. And they don't like being that person either. So then they have to course correct, and they're
That's thank you for saying that, because that's the reason why I asked you the question, because I thought you were up for it. And secondly, I think you've just pushed it, because I think there was some context for asking the question is that it's more I think it's just slightly more difficult for a woman, isn't it, to find her own I'm trying to find the right word here.
expression.
Natural way of doing business and getting that success, isn't it?
You know, here's the thing. I don't know how hard it is for a guy because I've never experienced that. Okay. I've heard many men be interviewed talking about being, you know, football players. Okay. The most masculine of the masculine, talking about, you know, having to put on a tough exterior, but being really sensitive inside. And like, you know, tough being a guy because you have to do this. Everyone has their own journey and path. So I don't actually like to make it like one way is better or worse, or that I have it harder than you. Here's the thing. You can make it as hard as you want or as easy as you want. And it was a hard life for me for many, many years. Okay. I struggled up here and in my life. And I could choose to go down that path, or I could choose to take a different path and make different choices. And I think whether you're a man or a woman, you have to choose. Our greatest power is our power of choice. Okay. Mm-hmm. And you have to constantly choose who you want to be, who you're being in this world. And you can either be someone who has a chip on their shoulder and saying, the world's done this to me. It's so tough being a woman. It's so tough being a man, all this stuff. Or you can say, here's my situation. I rise to every challenge, right? That's who I am. Okay. And I know that sounds kind of like inspirational, flip, you know, but the truth is you have a choice about how you show up every single day. And you can either show up as a victim, the world's doing this to me, or you can show up as someone who takes personal responsibility and is a creative agent in their lives.
I think that's great. Hopefully you're going to stay on for some bonus content. I'm going to be asking you, you know, you said it's a powerful thing that you state on your website that from 1 year's salary, you made that salary in 1 month. I'm just going to ask you some insights about that particular personal journey. So we're going to end the podcast part of the show. How's the best way for people to find out more about yourself and your thoughts and ideas?
That's great. Thank you for asking that. So the best way to find out about what we do is go to the unstoppablewoman.com/free stuff. And we have a ton of resources for people there on how to make an income breakthrough, how to create a mindset for success, lots of things there. So the unstoppablewoman.com/free stuff. And then I'm everywhere on all the social media channels under the Unstoppable Woman and Amira Alvarez.
I've been a bit worried because Robert's been a bit quiet, and normally that's a sign he's allowing myself to dig my own grave. So, so Robert, how's the best way for people to get hold of you and learn more about your company and yourself, Robert?
Just go to inboundrem.com.
Robert, folks, if you want to learn more about Mel Wright, go to mel-wright.com, and we've got all the podcasts on there. It's education in its own right, listening and viewing that. We'll be back next week with either an internal discussion between me and Rob or another great guest. We'll see you next week, folks. Bye.
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 So on to the bonus content. So that's a powerful statement you've made in your videos and on your website, that from a really nice yearly annual income, you got to the stage where you made that in 1 month and continued to do that for a whole year plus. So what are some of, obviously, you know, it's a big question and you have a whole course and materials, but what were some of the key factors that allowed you to achieve that?
Yeah, so there's so many pieces to this. Right. Yeah. Tell me when to stop, because I could talk for 3, 4, or 5 days.
Well, we've got about 10 to 12 minutes, so off you go.
So fundamentally, there were some key pieces. One, I had to pick a bigger goal. I had to pick something that I really, really wanted, that was far beyond anything that I could conceive of possibly happening. Okay. Like to be honest, I went from, not to be honest, but to be clear, I went from 138 to 700K in a year.
That is a substantial move in the needle.
Yes. Now, here's the thing. My goal that year was to make $1 million. I didn't know how I was going to do that. It seemed freaking impossible, but I was like, okay, I'm going to put this to the test. Can I do this? Clearly, I didn't make $1 million. I made 700K, but I didn't make $1 million. I did not make my goal. Okay. December 31st, January 1st, that year, I was a little disappointed. Okay. You might find that entitled. In hindsight, it is entitled.
No, you don't come across entitled. You come across as extremely driven. So I can actually see you actually thinking that.
Well, for a couple of days, I was really disappointed that I made 700 instead of $1 million. Okay. And then I got like my head straight and I was like, girl, you made 700K. Right. Look at that. Okay. That's pretty freaking awesome. But
I'm sure the tax man was very happy as well.
Everyone was, the tax man, everyone was very, very, I was happy. Okay. Right. So, that I tell you that because I chose a goal that was so exciting for me and meant so much to me, but that I had no idea how I was going to achieve. I did not have the how. Okay. But I had the desire, and it was a burning desire, and it was a strong desire. That is so critical, you guys.
So can we get into a little bit on the nitty gritty of this? Yeah. So you were in business business or individual consultation. So was it that you just increased your fees? Did you manage to get a very large client? Was it a change in marketing style? What were some of the nitty-gritty things that enabled you to go from 130 to 700,000?
Yeah. So here's what I discovered along the way. There's only 3 ways to make more money. It's really simple, guys. You raise your prices, you sell more widgets, quantity, whatever product or service you have, you just sell more of it, or you add another channel of income, something, either another lane in your business or a different business, okay? Those are the only 3 ways to make more money. I don't care if you're Richard Branson, Beyonce.
Or a combination of all 3.
Correct, okay? But making more, the revenue generation side of things, okay, comes into those 3 categories. So whenever I'm working with a client, I look at their business, I look at who they are and what they want to be doing, right? There's like a matrix there, a discussion there. And then we do the math and figure out what's the fastest path to cash for you in your business model. Is it scaling, so you're selling more of something? Is it raising your prices? Or is it some combination of all 3, adding in another channel, okay? And it's different for everyone, okay? The fine tuning is different. What I did was, from a tactical perspective, I raised my prices, but what had to happen behind the scenes to make that happen, I added another channel of income too. But to make both of those things happen, I had to raise my self-worth and raise my belief about what was possible for me and what the value of the service that I was providing was. And when that aligned, when my belief and my actions aligned, then I could do this thing at a much higher level, okay? So it's not just, so the tactical side, I could just say, hey, Jonathan, raise your prices and sell more, right? Market more, okay?
I would love to.
Right? But what stops people from doing that, or thinking like in the real estate world, because I know that's your audience, like if they want to make more money, they need to sell higher priced houses, okay? Or they need to sell more houses, okay? Or they need to have people working underneath them, okay? That's the channel, right? It's not complicated. Everyone knows these things, but most people come up with a huge number of stories about why that can't work for them, why their market doesn't work that way, or they can't do it like that, or da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah, it's quite interesting because in a way me and Robert are, because Robert has a company called Inbound Marketing. So obviously he sells the concept of inbound marketing, which I really believe. But actually Robert's strength is superpower, which I could have, but I choose not to do. And it's interesting because I'm not, you probably observed I'm not a shy person, am I really? But Robert has got that ability. He will get on the phone, and if it's necessary, he'll just talk to people and do cold calling. And that's the one thing which I'd rather go to the dentist and have my teeth extracted than to do that.
Jonathan, he has an inbound marketing company, and you're talking about him doing outbound.
Exactly.
I love that.
It's such a contradiction, really, because I based my hunting on inbound marketing, because I would not want to get, like I say, getting on the phone and actually talking to cold or semi-warm calls. Like I say, I would rather have my teeth extracted without pain medicine rather than do that. It's most contradictory, isn't it? Robert's very quiet, actually. I'm getting worried there.
No, I mean, hey, share the story. I don't do any outbound calls anymore, but I did them for 30 years. So I think it's safe to say, yeah, I can do it. I ran call centers, outbound call centers, right up until the point that they pretty much died on the vine. But, and there's everybody's just saying stuff that's already like deeply ingrained. I mean, I'm hoping that everybody gets something from the show, but to end up anywhere in the realm of where Amira is, or you can get to yourself, or where you and I are at, you've got to have a distinctly different mindset. You're not going to be an entrepreneur. You're not going to be an agent making 6 figures in the first place unless unless you believe in the power of mindset and power of goals, it's tough to get to any of the places that we're talking about.
Well, it is brutal, and it's the ability, and that's why we asked you to come on the show, because I was impressed with some of your materials, and I just sensed we don't normally have, we don't normally cover this area. It's more technology, but because of the situation we're facing, and also you aim a lot of your material to women, and we know by the statistics that a lot of women listen to our show, we thought that you would be a great guest, and you've chosen him, and hopefully you will agree to come back on the show sometime in the this year in the second half. So we're going to wrap up this part of the bonus show. I'm going to go and read up my Napoleon books, and I'm going to try and change my attitude. We'll be back next week with another internal discussion or another great guest. We'll see you soon, folks. Bye.
Goodbye, guys.